Have you ever just wanted to feel solid? Unmovable. Like no criticism could scratch you, no rejection could shake you, no loss or betrayal could truly touch the core of who you are. Maybe you're exhausted from feeling that quiet ache, that internal pinch you hide behind a smile. You're tired of performing strength, of holding it together for everyone else, when really you just wish you could let go, just for a minute. Stop carrying the weight of needing to be unbreakable. But I need to tell you something you might not have heard before. And it's this: the very act of running from pain is what gives it power over you. As long as you're trying to numb it, outsmart it, or hide from it, you remain a prisoner, a hostage to every hurtful word, every disappointment, every silence that screams inside you. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's the human condition. The difference is, some people are just better actors. The pioneering psychologist Carl Jung taught us something profound. We are not what happens to us. We are what we choose to become through it. And that right there, that's the turning point. This isn't about building a fortress. It's not about becoming cold or detached. It's about integration. It's about bringing what hurts you in the dark out into the light. Because real strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the profound awareness of who you are, even when you're bleeding. If you're still with me, it's no accident. This is for you. For anyone who is tired of being emotionally tossed around, feeling like other people hold some secret remote control to your inner world. It doesn't have to be that way. But getting there means facing some truths that might sting. And this time, that sting might just be what sets you free. Let's begin. You think the source of your hurt is out there, in what they said, in what they didn't do, in the betrayal you didn't see coming, in the love that was withdrawn. Here's the hard truth. None of those things have any inherent power to devastate you, unless they land on fertile ground inside you. What truly wounds you isn't the event itself. It's what that event activates. The old story it triggers. The unhealed scrape it tears open. The emptiness you've been trying to fill with achievement, with people-pleasing, with that perfect, polished image. Jung's work shows us that the pain we feel from the outside world is almost always a mirror. It reflects what we haven't yet made peace with on the inside. That's why two people can experience the same devastating loss, and one finds a way through, while the other is completely leveled. It's not about the storm. It's about the foundation it hits. And this leads to an uncomfortable realization. You still hurt so deeply because, on some level, you're still operating under a contract you didn't sign. The contract that says, if I am good enough, kind enough, smart enough, strong enough, then the world will be kind back. You're trying to control an outcome you can never guarantee. Control is an illusion, and clinging to it is a recipe for constant anxiety. You're trying to predict the unpredictable, to avoid the unavoidable. You want the suffering to stop? Then you have to stop trying to outrun it. What you need isn't more control. It's more awareness. As long as you believe other people need to change for you to feel peace, you are handing them the keys to your inner peace. Your freedom begins the moment you understand. Everything from the outside only has the power you grant it by how it resonates within you. And where does that resonance happen? In the place most of us never visit, the real battlefield, the unconscious mind. What you do not see, do not understand, and do not acknowledge controls you. And that is where we're going next. We're going one layer deeper, because that's where the real change begins. If this is connecting with you, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and it means we can keep making this journey together. Thank you for being here. Here's the biggest myth you've been sold, that you are in the driver's seat of your own life. It's time to wake up. You're not. Not as long as you're living on autopilot, reacting without knowing why, getting hijacked by emotions that seem to come from nowhere, making choices you later undermine. Carl Jung put it bluntly, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Let that land. That is exactly what's happening. The sudden flare of rage, the wave of sadness on a sunny day, the inexplicable insecurity that whispers you're not enough. These aren't random. They are messages, desperate memos from parts of you that have been locked in the basement, ignored, and told to be quiet. Jung called this territory the unconscious. And it's not some passive storage unit. It's an active, living force. A whole ecosystem of forgotten memories, buried traumas, repressed desires, and primal fears that you refuse to face. Yet they decide how you feel, who you attract, and where you stumble. Ever wonder why a certain criticism destroys your whole week, while your friend just shrugs it off? It's because that criticism found a target, a bullseye you painted yourself, from an old wound you never cleaned. You just threw a rug over it and pretended the floor was even. Jung said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." And what have you been doing? Condemning your weakness, repressing your anger, silencing your needs, as if that would make them disappear. The unconscious doesn't vanish when you ignore it. It just finds sneakier, more destructive ways to express itself. In the toxic relationship patterns you can't seem to break. In the self-sabotage right on the brink of success. In the anxiety that blooms when things are finally good. This isn't bad luck. This is your soul trying to get your attention. And you've been hitting the snooze button for years. You want to become unshakable? Then you have to stop running from what's inside you. Because as long as you are a stranger to your own depths, you will be a puppet to your emotions. The harder you try to armor yourself against the world, the more vulnerable you become to the enemy within. But there is a way through. It's not found in defense. It's found in integration. Because becoming untouchable isn't an act of resistance. It's an act of profound self-knowing. And that brings us to our next point. What does it truly mean to be emotionally resilient? And why does that strength come not from armor, but from acceptance? Let's keep going. Most people think the path to not getting hurt is to shut down, build walls, craft a mask of indifference. They say things like, "Nothing bothers me anymore. I don't care." But inside, the ache is still there. It just metastasizes, turns into cynicism, numbness, or a quiet despair, because the problem was never feeling. The problem is not understanding what you feel and why, and that only happens when you don't truly know yourself. Jung was clear on this. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul. That human soul you're trying to hide behind a character of invulnerability is begging to be seen. Emotional strength has zero to do with being cold. It has nothing to do with avoiding conflict or pretending you're above it all. It has everything to do with integration. with acceptance, with bringing all the pieces you banished to the shadows back home. You don't become untouchable by putting a barrier between you and life. You become untouchable when you realize no one can touch what you have already fully embraced within yourself. When you integrate your shadows, your fears, your flaws, your hidden shames, you stop reacting to everything. You start responding. You choose. You are no longer an emotional pinball, slammed by every bump and flipper. Jung called this process individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, not who your parents wanted, not who society rewards, not the perfect persona you constructed to be loved, but what emerges from the very center of your being, from the marriage of your light and your dark, your conscious mind and your unconscious depths. Individuation isn't about becoming perfect. Jung said it's about becoming whole. You don't need to be a better person. You need to be a complete person. And here's the secret no one tells you. The more you run from a part of yourself, the more it chases you. The more you try not to be affected, the more fragile your facade becomes. But when you face your own wounds, when you accept the totality of who you are, the noble and the messy, the kind and the jealous, nothing and no one on the outside has the power to dismantle you. This path, though, it asks for courage. Courage to look inward. Courage to take off the masks, even when you're afraid of what's underneath. Courage to feel deeply, because it is precisely in the heart of that feeling, in the core of your pain, that the key to a different kind of strength is hidden. And that's what we explore next. How suffering, far from being the enemy, can become the very doorway to your authentic power. Let's go deeper. And this time, let's not be afraid. From the time you were small, you were taught that pain is the enemy, that crying is for the weak, that feeling too much is a liability. So you learn to run, to avoid, to numb, to distract. But pain you refuse to feel doesn't evaporate. It goes underground. It digs tunnels through your psyche, and it resurfaces in disguise as chronic anxiety, as unexplained anger, as a deep apathy that makes everything feel gray, as a sudden, self-destructive impulse you can't explain. Ignored pain doesn't leave. It just changes form and waits. Jung saw suffering differently. He believed pain was the soul's messenger, the alarm system of the unconscious, the language your true self, your complete, total being, uses to get your attention when you're on the wrong path. He famously said that depression or deep pain is like a lady in black. If she shows up at your door, don't shoo her away. Invite her in. Offer her a seat. Listen to what she has to tell you. But you don't listen, do you? You silence her. You scroll, you work, you busy yourself, you drink, you chase a new high. Anything to avoid the message she carries. What is this pain trying to show you? The truth is, suffering hurts this intensely because you are at war with yourself. One part of you is straining toward growth, toward authenticity, toward change. Another part, the ego, the protective self, is clinging to the familiar, to the old stories, to the safety of the mask. That friction, that internal civil war, is where the ache is born. Because growth hurts. Letting go of old identities hurts. Allowing outdated beliefs to die so new understanding can be born. That's a form of mourning. It's an internal death and rebirth. But it's precisely in that space of deconstruction, when the old walls have fallen, that something new and solid can be built. When pain strips away all your pretense, all your performance, all your protections, you are laid bare. And in that raw, vulnerable place, you finally meet who you really are. In that moment, suffering transforms. It becomes sacred, not because it's good, but because it's the fire that forges you. It brings you to your knees before the only thing that can ever free you, your own radical self-acceptance. Jung knew this. He understood suffering wasn't a bug in the human system. It was a feature, a difficult, painful, but essential part of the journey toward wholeness, toward individuation. The problem is, most people turn back. They hit the pain and retreat to the surface, to the numbness, to the old patterns. But you're still here. And that means you might be ready to cross that dark valley. In the next part, we'll map that crossing. How the path of individuation, as lonely and demanding as it is, becomes the source of your ultimate freedom. Let's continue. We're getting to the heart of it now. Very few people have the courage to start the journey of individuation. Even fewer see it through, because this path makes no promises of comfort. It offers no guarantees. It does not protect your ego. It systematically dismantles it. Jung described individuation as the process of becoming who you are. But first, that requires unbecoming who you thought you were. And that is a pain deeper than any rejection. You start to see that so much of what defined you was a construct. You are not your job title. You are not your past trauma. You are not the pleasing personality you created to be loved. Those were survival mechanisms, costumes you wore to navigate the world. But surviving is not the same as thriving. Individuation is life's call to move beyond mere survival. It's the process where your unconscious starts pushing everything you've repressed to the surface. All the forgotten dreams, the stifled anger, the hidden grief. It demands to be integrated. Jung wrote that individuation requires the dissolution of the persona, that mask of social convenience you show the world. In plain terms, you have to shed your own skin to find what's real beneath it. This is how you become truly untouchable, not because you're made of stone, but because you've walked through the fire. You've sat with your deepest shame. You've faced your need for approval, your hidden envy, your core fears, and you've looked them in the eye and said, "I see you." And you are a part of me, but you are not all of me. That internal clarity, that lucidity in the face of your own darkness, grants a strength that is independent. It doesn't need constant validation. It doesn't need to win every argument. It doesn't need to perform, having it all together. Because you know who you are, and that knowing is unshakable. Real emotional armor isn't a shell you put on. It's a core you develop. It's the integration of all your parts, light and shadow, into a centered consciousness that can weather any storm. You will still feel pain, but it doesn't fragment you. You can still be hurt, but you don't lose your sense of self. Why? Because you've stopped being reactive and have become responsive. You've stopped living on the surface of your personality and have begun to inhabit the depths of your soul. This depth, however, has a cost. It often brings a sense of loneliness. Not because you'll be alone, but because few people can follow you into these depths. Most are still playing the surface game, terrified of their own shadows. As you free yourself, you may naturally drift from old connections. This isn't about superiority or rejection. It's about maturation. You don't fit in the old hiding places anymore. And this brings us to our final, crucial point, the ultimate shield. Because it's not toughness that protects you in the end. It's consciousness. Let's finish this journey together. We're almost there. Now that you've come this far, hear this clearly. Nothing you do, no strategy, no affirmation, no mental trick will ever shield you from life's blows if you remain asleep to what happens inside you. The words will still sting. Rejection will still ache. Loss will still bring you to your knees until you awaken. And awakening isn't a one-time lightning bolt. It's a daily, sometimes moment-to-moment choice. It's the choice to look inward when it's uncomfortable. It's the radical act of taking responsibility for everything you feel, without immediately blaming the other person, your past, or the universe. Carl Jung gave us the key. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Think about what you've been resisting your whole life. The fear of being not enough. The sting of abandonment. The quiet agony of invisibility. What did you do with it? You resisted. You hid it. You overcompensated. You tried to be perfect, successful, indispensable, stoic. And where has that brought you? To exhaustion. To the feeling that you're fighting the world and yourself and losing. But now you know. True emotional immunity isn't hardness. It's clarity. It's not about building a fortress. It's about expanding your field of awareness. Because when you understand your triggers, when you recognize your old patterns, when you have tended to your core wounds, the actions of others lose their power to define you. You still feel, but you don't drown in the feeling. You still suffer, but you don't become the suffering. And that changes everything. What protects you is not hiding from life's experiences. It's diving into them with total presence. People who live on the surface get capsized by every wave. People who learn to dive deep find a stillness, a stability, a power beneath the turmoil. That's where you're headed. And when you begin to live from that place of integration, of acceptance, of awake presence, the world might still throw its worst at you, but it won't find a hook to hang it on. It won't find a void to fill with chaos. It meets a wholeness, and wholeness is unshakable. If this video sparked something in you, if something inside you said, yes, write it down in the comments. Just 2 words. I'm awake. Let's start a movement not of people pretending to be strong, but of people courageous enough to be real. And don't stop here. The next video is a direct continuation of this path. Real transformation doesn't begin with the first step. It begins with the second, with the decision to keep going, even when it's quiet and the work is your own. I'll see you there.